I'm really proud of you for going on this trip.
You're gonna have so much fun. And remember, if something chases you, run.
We have learned more in the past decade from genetics than a century of digging up bones. A whole new frontier has opened up. We have our first genetically modified hybrid.
You just went and made a new dinosaur?
Probably not a good idea. Almost 40 feet high. Really think she climbed out?
Depends.
On what?
What kind of dinosaur they cooked up in that lab. Evacuate the island. She's a highly intelligent animal. She will kill anything that moves.
Oh, God.
On this week's Ranked and Reviewed, we dive into ALANNIS. Is it ALANNIS, Alan?
It's potato.
We dive into Jurassic World. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Ranked and Reviewed. I am your host, TOMYE West, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, ALANNIS Maximus. How you going, man?
Yeah, not bad.
Not too bad?
Yeah.
Well, we're here at a new branch of the Jurassic Park series, as you might want to put it. We are now reviewing Jurassic World, which came out in 2015. Now, before we get into any of the details, before we get into any of our thoughts, make sure you subscribe, like, and share. It would help us out a lot. And yeah, helps us get to making more content and get you guys more content and whatever, you know? So, Alan, how you been anyway?
Yeah, good. Enjoying life. Enjoying opinions. Because, I mean, how good are opinions?
They are good.
And that's what this show is all about.
They
opinions.
are good. You know what I realized, which really annoys me, and I'm not going to fix it up now because I can't be bothered, is that the Loud Media logo at the top is not fucking correct. But see how it's like cut off?
Yeah.
Really doing my head in.
That being cut off is fact, unlike opinions.
Exactly. So, yeah, as we just said, we're here to do Jurassic World, which came out in 2015. Now, some of you might say, why didn't you change the name of Ranked and Reviewed to Jurassic World Ranked and Reviewed? Well, I just thought we'll just keep going with Jurassic Park because really that's what it is. It's the Jurassic Park franchise. I mean, you wouldn't name the Nightmare on Elm Street the Freddy Krueger. You know what I mean? Like, what are your thoughts on this, Alan?
I think that it is good enough, and let's not be anal.
Exactly. We're not going to lose your camera again, are we? Because this is going to be.
No, my dog's just breakdancing on the bed behind it.
I was just worried because last two shows we've lost your camera. So
Floyd, you found the floor. Lay down. You guys twirling about 8. Okay, we're good.
good. All right, so we'll get straight into this, which is our overview of the movie. So Jurassic World, 2015. That was the day, the year it was released. Sorry, the day. that was a long day, man. It was rated PG-13. It is rated PG-13. Depends where you are, I guess. It was M here, mature, in Australia. 2 hours and 4 minutes it runs for. It's got, for my opinion, which we'll get into later, it's got a really kind of IMDb rating, which is 6.9 out of 10. And I'm going to read the quick, what would you call it? The quick, the
Synopsis.
The synopsis. Thank you.
Can you try to think of the word?
It's the synopsis, man. A new theme park built on the original site of Jurassic Park creates a genetically modified hybrid dinosaur, the Indominus Rex, which escapes containment and goes on a killing spree. There's a lot more to it than that, meaning like this is the first time we get to see the park opened, that sort of thing. With patrons and like dinosaurs out the arse and theme park attraction rides and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, we'll get back into sort of a deeper look into it when we get there. The writers of this are Rick Jaffa, that's the screenplay, also by Amanda Silver, and also by Colin Trevorrow. So it's like tomorrow, but Trevorrow. And then we've got the stars of this movie, Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, and Ty Simpkins. And it's kind of a weird thing. There's a lot of other people in it, like Judy Greer, Irfan Khan, Vincent D'Onofrio. I don't know if that's how you say his name.
But how do you say his name? D'Onofrio, I think.
That's it. And then there's Jake Johnson, B.D. Wong. There's quite a lot of famous people in this movie. Brian T.
Is it Asian dude that's in other stuff that I never remember the name of?
That's Brian T. as well.
That's the one.
Yeah. So yeah, like not meaning I said there's a lot of famous people. I meant noteworthy actors, I guess. You know what I mean? So yeah, what do you think about that IMDb rating of 6.9 out of 10?
I think haters are going to hate, and it reminds me that the internet makes me sad because it gives everyone a voice.
Yeah, it does. It makes me sad too. So that's the rough overview of this movie. I mean, there isn't much more to dive into with the overview. We can get into more of the story, plot elements, and things like that as we get into our thoughts. So I thought we'd do today a little bit different, which is let's try and begin at the beginning of the movie and sort of move through it by memory. Yeah. So
progressively.
Yeah. So with our thoughts, how do you think this movie starts? Do you think this movie starts well? Do you think that this leads a good beginning to a start of a new sort of era in a franchise? What are your thoughts on it?
I think it does. It's has a very similar feel to the first movie, I think, in the start. Like it kind of the allure, like the kind of wow, happy dinosaurs, people seeing dinosaurs, family fun. It has a very similar kind of tone, I think. Different, but still similar, I think, at the crux.
Yeah, definitely. What did you think about, like, I thought it was really clever about how, see, I really like the opening shot of this movie, which is like the egg and
the bird?
The egg. No, yeah, that comes afterwards, but it's like the cracking of the egg and you see the dinosaur's eye and it's got like the old emblem and, the Jurassic Park font, you know what I mean? And then it like then it like shows the eye and shows like the claw coming out of the dinosaur egg, and then it like flashes into the foot of the bird, like smashing its like foot down onto the snow and showing like that it, like you think it's a dinosaur paw, and then it like zooms out a bit and it's a bird flying away from at the front of the house of Judy Greer and her husband with their kids as they're kind of like getting them into the car to take them to the airport so that they can go. Is it the airport that they go to first? Definitely the airport, yeah, because they don't show them getting on a plane or doing anything. I don't think. I think they just show them going through the guard thing, and then suddenly they're on a boat to Jurassic World. But you know, whatever. So yeah, it's kind of the lead up of that. So what do you think about the child stars in this? That like the two brothers.
They're a necessary evil.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of moments in that movie, especially with the older kid, where I'm like, you fucking idiot. Like, what do you, like, he's meant to be, what, early, mid-teens, 15, 16. I can remember being that age. And I can remember a lot of things I wouldn't have fucking done that he did.
Yeah. I do like the part at the start with him, though, where he's saying goodbye to his girlfriend, and his girlfriend's like, all like, I love you. And he's like, I'm going. Catch you later. You know what I mean? Like, can tell just as sick of her. And then I love that how his dad's like, you know, come on, Zach, we're not going away to war here. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was really funny. Yeah, like, I don't know. What did you think? I'm guessing that the child, the younger child, what's his name? It's Zach and it's Zach and Gray.
Might be, yeah.
Great. So yeah, I just looked it up. It's great. So he obviously has like, I'm guessing like an autism thing, but also is very smart. Is that what you're getting from it too? Like Asperger's, autism, something like that? Like
either that or he's just a weird kid.
Because he doesn't his brother say aren't you meant to be some kind of genius to him? Like
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So like I'm wondering if it's like I'm not as serious. I'm like not trying to make fun of it either. Is it a Rain Man situation? You know what I mean? Where it's not as serious because he seems very obsessed with very weird sort of like facts about the island. Like he's like, how big is the island? Like, but how much does it weigh? Like how many pounds? You know what I mean? And his brother's like, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So like there's little quips here and there, but I think that they're really good in their own way where like you get to see the excitement of the like going to this place with one of them and like no excitement whatsoever. But that makes the moments where they both show excitement and enthusiasm together more special in my opinion because the part when they're in the gyrosphere and they sort of like take off on their own and they like rock into that paddock with all the Triceratops and all that, and they both go, whoa, like together. You know what I mean? Like that makes that moment a lot more special because you're like, oh, they finally are both loving what they're seeing and like they've realized what they're amongst. You know what I mean? So I don't know. There's some really like touching moments in this movie as well. Like, was there anything else you wanted to say about their characters before we get into like the sort of plot elements and things like that with what's going on and what happens?
I think having said what I said, I think they are acted well, and the entire point of the older kid is to do exactly what I did and go, you idiot. But he does it well. I think it is a good dynamic between the two of them as well, and you see them kind of bond a little bit more as brothers through it as well. You know, it's the older brother thing in the end, and
I love that when they're like they get the car going together and things like that. You know, the Jeep going together and like they're bonding and like how his brother at the start is like, who cares? You get two of everything if our parents like get to, like, you know, like when separated, and he's like, but I don't want two of everything. And then later on, he's like, you know, it doesn't matter what happens. We're brothers and things like that. So yeah, there were some touching moments where the kids were annoying to begin with, but you kind of grew to like them a little bit more throughout the movie as it goes. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you felt the same way. So
Yes. It was up until I think the last point I really hated the older one, which once again I think was by design.
Yeah.
Was when he drives off past the broken fence. He's like, dude.
Yeah. He's like, off-road, bro. Like, you know? I would have been like, no, on-road, bro. You know what I mean? Like, stick to the track. You know, like that doesn't look like that looks like something broke through it. Maybe a dinosaur. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That doesn't look like a man broke through the fence to me. But you know, so yeah, like, okay, let's move on to the fact that the park is open and some of the elements that you liked from seeing this, because this is sort of where a lot of the joy for me, after not seeing this movie for like 5-6 years and rewatching it and realizing that I've watched the first half of this movie, maybe not even the first half, the first 40, not even the first 30 minutes of this movie, I've watched a number of times because I own a 3D television and this was in 3D. So it was one of the things I'd chuck on every now and then just to start kind of show people 3D on a TV or whatever when they came over. So there's a lot of things that I took note in with this movie that like brought me sort of a sense of like, oh, that's fun or that's joyful or whatever you want to say, you know. What did you see in the park? Like, was this what you pictured Jurassic Park to look like and feel like when you went there? Because it's pretty much dead on what I would have wanted from a Jurassic Park. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like SeaWorld but with dinosaurs, and that's how I think it needed to look.
Exactly. But it has that future element to it where there's like futuristic things there that you'll only ever see there. Like, I really like the fact that when they go into the new sort of like area with the staircase going up, and then instead of like the T-Rex like skeleton, like the bones, it's like a 3D hologram of dinosaurs. I really like the fact that there's like a little like archaeological dig site for the kids to dig at there. I really like the petting zoo, you know, where the kid hugs the little brachiosaurus and things like that. Like, I really liked, I don't know if you noticed the balloon that the chick was walking along with, and it's like a balloon that walks next to you. It looks like it's got the legs dangling down, but it's like little streamers. It's like a brachiosaurus. Like, there were just little touches like that that I really found like joy in, where I'm like, that's awesome. You know what I mean? And what did you think about like the attractions, like the gyrosphere, the big bird aviary? Like, not that we saw much of that, but and just like all that sort of thing. What did you think about that?
I thought it was cool. It was like I had to remove myself from the whole gyrosphere thing of like the whole. If it was real and we were really there, they probably wouldn't do that because, I mean, they still got those big horns, man. If those things freak out, we saw what happened to the sphere.
Yeah,
But
we did.
ignoring that and just going, it's a movie. I dug it. I thought it was a cool way to stray away from.
Kind of the same way. It's kind of the same way I felt about the canoe bit, where they're all in canoes in the water.
Yes.
They're all in the canoes and they're like allowed to go in these canoes, and there's just dinosaurs. Like, yeah, I know they're like the herbivores and they're not going to probably cause shit, but like, it's still a bit like letting yourself into the fucking giraffe cage. You know what I mean? At the zoo, where it's like, you probably shouldn't do that, you know?
So you wouldn't walk through a field with a bunch of elephants because they could get spooked and trample you.
Yeah, exactly. So I get that sense of like wonder, where it's like they wanted to add that, and it seems a little bit like, well, that's a bit risky, you know? But at the same time, I kind of was captivated by it and was like, yeah, fuck it. Like, I'll just fall into this world because why not? You know what I mean? So when you okay, let's just put it like this: when you just sat through the travesty that was Jurassic Park 3, you're willing to have a lot of fucking grace put aside for this movie. You know what I mean? You're like, you know what? Fuck it. Move on. This is pretty good. So yeah. Now, last week I said something in Jurassic Park 3 review, which I'm sort of like, now I'm like, I don't know why I second guessed myself, but the Spinosaurus is still the shittest dinosaur. Sorry, the Indominus Rex is awesome in this movie, and I don't know why I thought different. So let me get your opinion on it. What did you think of the Indominus Rex?
I liked it, and I liked it. One thing that I liked about this whole movie as well, which they kind of touched on, I think, in the last movie, very briefly as a passaway thing. But this movie kind of focused on the fact that, especially the Indominus, they're not true dinosaurs, which kind of instantly, despite so I've always kind of gone, it's a sci-fi. Who cares if they're not accurate? But it appeases that side of me that goes, but no, that's not right. So I enjoyed that they kind of focused a bit more on that and kind of went, and I think I really like that with the Indominus as well. They're like, it took that to the extreme as well and kind of helped hammer home that point. And I mean, it's believable too. Like, especially when you go with I can't remember his name, but the curator.
His name's, hold on, I'm pulling it up right now. He is Dr. Henry Wu.
That's the one. You could see them pushing it too far, and it was all, at least in the start, all about money and sponsorship, and it's happened before in our lifetime that just goes down a stupid path. And I think a lot of the underlying themes of this movie is play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah. So yeah, what did you think about look, I'm not going to say that it was like easy to pick, that was like sort of the secret that they were keeping, but it was pretty easy to pick that they had crossbred the T-Rex with a Velociraptor, even though at the start they were like, it's classified. And I was like, well, that means it's a Velociraptor. You know what I mean? So,
that moment though with Chris Pratt, it reminded me of, not just tackily, but it reminded me of that scene with the eggs with Sam Neill in the first one, where he just kind of looked and he seen was going, Raptors.
Yeah.
I hope in the new movie they have a scene where they both see something together and go, Raptors.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. So, you know what I'm excited for you to see is in the next one. I don't know if you watched it yet, because I don't know. I went into I've been nonstop since my dog passed away. I'm sick of bringing it up, but I have to because it's just what's going on in my life. I've been nonstop since my dog passed away. So for the last 3 days, I just decided to take time out. So all I've done is lie in bed, watch documentaries, watch shit, and watch movies. And I decided to watch both of these sort of back to back. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Have you watched it yet? Ready for our next review?
I have not. I do need to, and I'm pretty eager to. So I'll probably watch that across the week.
Yeah, well, I'm excited because Dr. Henry Wu, his storyline keeps going. And I don't know if you noticed, but in the new trailer, he is also in that new trailer saying, we made a very bad mistake. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to see. I'm so excited now to see Dominion. I've gotten my expectations a lot higher than what they once were. So, how are you feeling about coming into seeing Dominion?
I'm excited to see it, especially seeing the old cast come back. I think into a better environment than especially Sam Neill had for his second time around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thoughts on Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard and the cast? This is what I've been excited to talk to you about too, because I know you love your Marvel movies. I know you love your Guardians of the Galaxy, but I know you also don't really like Chris Pratt being shoved into every single fucking property that they can possibly do. So I'm excited to hear what your thoughts were, because I'm guessing that he was one of the main draws against why you hadn't seen these movies yet. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. And I did not mind him. So I was pleasantly surprised. He was, I think because I've got this thing against his version of Star-Lord, without seeing him much else but that, I was kind of predisposed to go, him.
Yeah.
But I watched it and I went, him, which was good. I think that was a win.
And your thoughts on Bryce Dallas Howard?
I did not mind her. I spent most of the movie going, what do I know her from? What do I know her from? But I think she also had a good evolution as a character. Probably just as good as the brothers. She kind of she's kind of like the businesswoman, then she's kind of the idiot, then she kind of realizes responsibility and things like that. So yeah, her character progression was very nice, and she wasn't tacky. She wasn't like Tia Leone. It was good. I like that they kind of almost referenced that as well when she starts screaming, and Chris Pratt's just like,
yeah. No, she's great, man. She is awesome. He's really good in this movie, and I'm gonna say it. Bryce Dallas Howard is one of the most attractive people in Hollywood, and I don't care what anyone says, man. Like the whole time I was watching this movie, I was like, "Oh man, she's fantastic." You know, like. So, yeah, like what did you think about like their chemistry? Like you kind of get the hint that they've got some past between each other, without them going into much about it. You know, it's kind of just like digs thrown at each other and like, why are you calling me Mr. Grady and things like that. So what are your thoughts on like how they how they acted together?
I liked it. It was almost shades like of almost a Han Solo-y kind of vibe, or Indiana Jones kind of vibe, I think, from Chris Pratt, like the whole rough around the edges, nice but kind of wild guy. Yeah, I think it was a good dynamic.
Yeah, and what did you think about like sort of where the story went towards the end with like the see, it's confusing because I was under the impression that the island was InGen like all over, like including the Henry Wu, including like then like Bryce Dallas Howard, including like Chris Pratt, like all these people were InGen, but you realize that InGen is sort of like the overseer of the island, and they step in when there's like a crisis or something to deal with. And you have that bad dude who is we said his name, Vincent D'Onofrio. You've got him as the bad guy. What do you think about his character and his dynamic and what he's trying to aim to use the dinosaurs for, which is basically to eventually put him into combat? You know what I mean? Like
he was good, and he played the role. I think he's always nails his roles. He's a pretty phenomenal actor, and I think he got the high up brass military idiot kind of really down pat. Yeah,
he's been in a lot of things, man. Like, what was he?
Yeah.
He was in one of the Marvel TV
He's
shows.
Kingpin.
Yeah, that's right. I thought so. Yeah. And what did you think about sort of the whole thing? Because I know one of your favorite things about these movies is the Velociraptors. So let's go into the Velociraptors a little bit compared to previous movies and how you think they were handled, how you think the whole coming of like they were able to like be raised and taught how to like, you know, they follow instructions and they look at Chris Pratt as sort of like a mummy, like a leader, like, you know, a pack leader. What do you think about what they did with the Velociraptors in this movie?
I do like it because it kind of. I've always kind of thought that, and was kind of surprised that they've ever taken that kind of angle with the Raptors before, because essentially they're kind of like on the same sort of level as like I guess dogs or wolves, where they have that smarts where they'll latch onto something if it's mutually beneficial, and they'll have that loyalty. And I like seeing that rather than just kind of them having the same angle of there's a smart dinosaur that will hunt you. They kind of developed kind of the relationship between humans and these dinosaurs, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah, no, it was really good. And I really like the park owner. Like his name is Mazarani, played by Irfan Khan. I really like his sort of wit that he brings to the character, the care he brings to the character. You actually like him, you know what I mean? Like you know, how is customer satisfaction? How are the dinosaurs? Like you can tell by looking in their eyes, kind of thing. You know, he's like, now let me fly this fucking helicopter. I've got my license. 2 days. Oh, 2 more lessons, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what do you think of him as like the sort of like park owner this time, the John Hammond, you guess you'd say, you know?
In the initial onsets, he kind of. I was a little iffy on him at first as a person. I'm like, especially when kind of he has a go at the scientists and then it's like, but you were kind of pushing this. This is money to you.
Yeah.
But he really redeems himself, especially when his end parts upset me. I'm like, but he was just starting to be likable, like really likable. Like you've redeemed yourself.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that death coming. Like,
yeah, no, it's pretty. It's pretty. I like how they didn't make it too. Like it was weird because you thought, oh, that was a pretty piss weak helicopter accident. Like, yeah, okay, he fell through the aviary, but like there was no explosion or anything. It just fell, and then it lands into the fucking thing, and it goes. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, no, there we go. There's the big explosion. So, I mean, we've talked a lot about it. About how like some of these didn't feature enough dinosaurs. The dinosaurs that they featured were a little bit shit. What did you think about the dinosaurs they featured, and what did you think about the practical / CG effects? Could you tell a lot of the time with the CG how bad it was some of the parts, or did you think that it was well done most of the time? And did you notice much practical effects used in this?
I was a bit wrapped up in it, so I kind of found myself watching it without looking at the finer details, but without examining it too critically. I didn't have any moments that stood out to me when I'm like, "Oh, that was bad CG," or "That's a bad puppet."
Yeah,
I think just the technology's there a bit more now as well. It was a lot better in that regard than the predecessors, apart from maybe the first, where you don't really have those moments. But especially in 3, where you kind of it's just poorly done CG, and the practical effects are also pretty poor.
Yeah,
this movie was good. I think at least without putting it under a microscope, it's pretty clean.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm trying to think of parts that they may have used like practical effects. I have a feeling the parts where like the Velociraptor heads were in those fucking holders. I have a feeling they were maybe practical heads because they looked very practical. You know what I mean? But there were some moments with like CG raptors and stuff, obviously, where it's all going to look a little CG every now and then. Like the part when he's in the training part at the start, and he like throws them like food and shit like that. Of course, that's all going to be CG just because of the way it moves. There's no way you're going to get a fucking puppet to move like that. So, I mean, you can probably notice it in certain parts, but I mean, I'd say the most egregious CG was the bird at the start. It didn't look very good, but I thought it was still a cool way to begin that movie. So I'm trying to think if there's anyone really that we've left out of talking about with the main sort of cast, because
I was quite fond of.
Actually, yes, we have. We missed out on talking about Jake Johnson, who is Lowry, and he is the guy that is behind the desk with all the Jurassic Park T-shirt. He's got like the chaotic desk, as she likes to put it. Clean this mess. It's chaotic. You know what I mean? So what are your thoughts on him, and what did you think about the character that was sort of like the female version of him in this movie, which was
another person that I watched the whole time going, what do I know you from?
Vivian. Lauren Lapkus is her name. So what did you think about those two characters?
I liked them. They were some nice comic relief in tense times, I think. Like that whole one of his hands to stay behind, and then he tries to put the moves on, and he's like, I have a boyfriend.
Yeah, that's funny. And you just never talk about him. That's all. Yeah. I think that they're really funny. And I also, but there's some weird parts in the acting there where like she's like, clean your desk, it's chaotic. And he's like, oh, well, I like to look at it as it's one step away from unbalanced or whatever. And then she like knocks the bin, knowing that he knocked the drink into the bin. Like that was a bit, I don't know, like fortune teller-ish for me. You know what I mean? Like there's no way you would have been able to know that going on. But yeah, like there were little things like that. But I kind of think that adds to the charm of this. Like I really like at the start when she's in the elevator, Bryce Dallas Howard's character, and she's like, this is this person, this is that person, and I am this person. And then the elevator's open and it's got that close-up shot of her, and she's like, "Welcome to Jurassic World." You know what I mean? Like, I really like that sort of like, it almost feels like the what do you call it? Breaking the third wall or whatever you want to say it is. But it's not, because she's saying it obviously to the investors. There are parts of like in this movie where it feels like that it just fits like that. So I get why there's parts like that in it. I mean, is there anything you want to say more, like, or elaborate on that, I guess?
Not really. I dug a lot of the callbacks to Jurassic Park as well. Like, obviously there was the Jeeps and the facility was all really in your face, but the fact that one of the first things you see when they go into the park is a DNA dude. I'm like,
Mr. DNA, yeah.
Yeah.
And I do love the callbacks in this movie. Like, you've got the 3D, not 3D, the night vision goggles.
Vision, yeah.
And then you've got the Jeeps, which I'm guessing was the same Jeeps. Like, they were sort of hinting like these were the Jeeps used. You know what I mean? I like all that stuff. It's like, but also I think that those parts are so cool in this movie that it's hard, because I don't know where I want to rank this movie yet. I'm still having a hard time. Yeah, you know what I mean? But I don't think without the first movie, we would have had that feeling throughout a lot of this movie. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
I also feel like I haven't looked into it to confirm, which I should have. But I feel like the T-Rex as well was the same T-Rex. So it kind of focused a couple of points on those scars that looked a lot like the raptor scars from the first movie. I'm like, no, that's got to be. They wouldn't focus on that and put that there if it wasn't.
I have a feeling that that's a cool callback too. What did you think about the use of the T-Rex? I really liked how, like, you got to see the Tyrannosaurus Rex exhibit, and you only really got to see the T-Rex from the perspective of in the crowd behind all these kids at the glass. So you only got to see like the tip of its head or like its arm or whatever until the very last conflict at the end, where she opens up the thing and gets chased while she's holding the flare. What did you think of that? I thought that was a really nice sort of throwback to the old movies where it was like the T-Rex, the Velociraptors, sort of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
I liked it. It was, as you said, it was kind of like a nice kind of callback once again. I did enjoy that a lot. And I also liked that when I first saw the T-Rex, I was kind of like, please don't let this T-Rex one-shot this super dinosaur, because please don't. And they didn't, so I'm happy.
Yeah, awesome. So, one last thing I want to touch on is the cool-ass ending where this Spinosaurus, you think that it's going to get eaten by one of these fucking dinosaurs, and then that fucking fish dinosaur.
Swimmosaurus.
I think it's called the I don't know, man.
Jason Momoa.
Momoasaurus, whatever it is, fish dinosaursaurus comes up and just fucking snatches it into the water. I thought that was a really nice little fucking moment. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of saw it coming, but like, even though I've seen this movie, I can remember sitting there going, "Oh, they're pretty close to the water exhibition bit right now." You know what I mean? Like, so, did you like that bit? Did you think that was awesome?
Yeah, I did. I also like kind of like the standoff and the mimic standoff, kind of like where the T-Rex looks at the raptor and is like, "You'll meet next time." And then the raptor kind of turns around and looks at the humans and is like, "You'll meet next time." And then
yeah. Everyone's meet next time. So my thoughts on this movie, to basically put it as an end cap on this whole thing, is that I really liked this movie. I liked it more this time than the first time I watched it. And this is the first time I watched this movie, I guess, in full again, because there was a lot of parts I just had no fucking memory of. Alan, what are your thoughts on that? Like, your final thoughts on this, I guess?
I think it was pretty great. It's not the perfect movie, but it was pretty brilliant. Higher body count, it was more graphic as well, which I liked. And mostly I liked that there was that chaos scene with all the pterodons and pterodactyls and flying bastards just wreaking havoc, picking everything off. I think that was something that's been missing from the movies. It's always been like a small group of people being hunted, not like a mass kind of killing kind of.
Yeah, just a carnage, just fucking shit going everywhere. You know what I mean? Probably something we should talk about a little bit before we cap off our thoughts is just the action itself. Like, I think the action, it was nicely paced. I think there was a lot of it. I think there was a bit of action for everybody, whether it sort of be the horror aspect, the adrenaline pumping, the fast paced, the slower paced sort of like thrillish stuff where, like, you know, they're sitting in that place trying to fix one of the Jeeps, and they're sitting in front of the Jeep, and the head comes in and sniffs and like that sort of shit. Like, I just think the action in this movie there wasn't too much. It wasn't too overdone. There wasn't too little to make the movie kind of stagnant, which is what I felt like Jurassic Park 3 just had the whole time. You know what I mean? I feel like the action was well placed, and it wasn't either too shit and over the top like in Jurassic Park 3, and wasn't too sort of uninspired like Jurassic Park 3 as well. So what do you feel about sort of the pace of the action and some of those things?
I think it was good. I think the intro pretty much got to the precise point where I was kind of going, come on. It started getting good. Like, well, not good, but started getting into it, I think.
Yeah.
Which was good. Although the one thing that made me go, chewing out the tracking beacon. That is the one part where I'm like, I don't like that.
Yeah, and the skin looked terrible. It looked gross as well. I was like, you know what I mean? Like, but oh well. It served the story, and that's all that really matters in the end. That they brought it back and used it. Like, if it had the tracking beacon on it, there would have been absolutely no reason to use the Velociraptors later on to track it. You know what I mean?
That's it. And I mean, it's dismissible in big schemes.
I guess it served the purpose that it needed to serve. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I fall with this movie, is that every purpose they put into it was served well. You know, they done it well. There wasn't anything where you were like, that was shit. Like in Jurassic Park 3, there was a lot of just misplaced garbage. And in this movie, I just think everything kind of had its place and served its purpose and was a great, fun ride. So as we get into some trivia, I'm going to get you to write your rankings in the chat. I am going to bring up the ranking screen for us, but I am going to do it in the edit post. So, the screen will come up for everyone else, but I just need to know your ranking so I can make sure that I do it correctly while we talk about it. Trivia. Let's bring the trivia up. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I see what you've done there. Wow. Okay. So, trivia. The gyrosphere was executive producer Steven Spielberg's idea. According to director Colin Trevorrow, that's right, Spielberg wanted to create a way for people to get up close and personal with the animals, to make it a self-driving, free-roaming experience. It loads on a truck, but once you're out there, you actually get to navigate around the valley, in contrast to the confined Ford Explorer tours, SUVs from Jurassic Park 1993. New Orleans has an abandoned Six Flags theme park, which has been used for other movie productions. The filmmakers created the 300-foot by 200-foot main street and boardwalk in the amusement park's abandoned parking lot. They shot on the set for 2.5 weeks there. The motorcycle used in this movie is a Triumph and was given to Chris Pratt as a gift after filming. For the season 2 Parks and Recreation 2009 DVD, Chris Pratt made a behind-the-scenes video. In the video, he reads a fake text from Steven Spielberg about being cast in Jurassic Park 4. Pratt was cast as the lead in the 4th Jurassic Park movie. There you go. At around 1 hour and 40 minutes, Lauren Lapkus improvised the line, "I have a boyfriend." Colin Trevorrow liked the line so much he kept it in the final cut.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. At around 1 hour and 40 minutes, the hologram of the Dilophosaurus in the Educational Center is from Jurassic Park 1993. The Dilophosaurus's footage is from when Nedry was attacked. That's cool. So they reuse that. Jurassic Park 1993 is one of Chris Pratt's favorite movies. The first time he saw it was on its opening day at the theater. Claire is dressed in all white, thus paying homage to John Hammond in Jurassic Park. Both were the directors of their respective parks. Which I don't really think that's kind of right, because as I said, I feel like the guy flying the helicopter and all that shit was more on the lines of John Hammond.
Yeah, I think he was more the Nedry.
Yeah.
No, not the Nedry, the Hammond.
Yeah, he was that, so I don't know. But whatever, we'll go with it. The gyrosphere set was built above the Kawa Valley at Kualoa Ranch. What? Oh, man. I can't even. You know what? Fuck that, dude. It's like.
That place. That's where it was.
Oahu. So I'm guessing, is that Hawaii?
So is it Oahu?
Yes, Oahu. OAHU.
Yes. That place.
Yes. That's
sorry, Hawaiian.
That's a fact. That's it. Oahu. That's it. After this movie became the fourth highest grossing movie of all time, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom 2018 was announced for 2018. And we'll go one more. Most of the dinosaur effects were most of the dinosaur effects used were created using CGI, but animatronic raptor heads were created for the squeeze cage. Practical animatronic Apatosaurus head was also created for a sequence filmed in Hawaii. So I'm guessing Oahu is Hawaiian. So we could go back to that fact quickly, which is the gyrosphere set was built above the Kawaha Valley at the Kualoa Ranch, Oahu. It's still standing and is featured in some of their resort tours. Per employees of the ranch, the set will be used for weddings, special occasions, and etc. So that's pretty cool. So we'll just get straight into our rankings now.
Yes.
So, Alan, imagine that the screen comes up with our rankings right now.
Woo.
Whoa! Whoa, man!
I like it. Much ranking.
For everyone, Alan has done something that a lot of you are going to poo-poo. And that is, he has put Jurassic World at number 1, Jurassic Park at number 2, Jurassic Park The Lost World at number 3, and Jurassic Park 3 at number 4. Now,
it was a tough decision.
We'll go into that in a minute. I'm going to ask you in a minute what led to this. So, my ranking, Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, Jurassic Park The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3. So, we're pretty close, man. And the only reason I didn't go higher with Jurassic World is because a lot of it, for me, Jurassic World, the reason it stuck so much was because of what Jurassic Park laid for it. So the throwbacks to Jurassic Park, the Jeeps, seeing the park from a different lens, seeing it open finally, seeing what they had envisioned in Jurassic Park come to life. And I don't think without that movie being number 1 for me, that Jurassic World would hit as well as it did with how it's hit. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
So now let me ask you how you came to this conclusion.
Well, I'm very, very, very much in the same line of thinking as you. Like, it was a very, if I could rank them evenly, I would, but I think that's a cop-out. I like to kind of challenge myself and really go, well, what's what? I don't want to put them on the same thing. And the end of the day, the only thing it came down to is I'm a sucker for a high body count, and it was more graphic. I think that's the one thing that made me kind of go, I'll put this over. Could also be, 5 years from now, I'll watch them again and go, you know what, I'll change that because I kind of have the buzz of this being a new thing. But yeah, it's that little bit higher, I think, as a movie. Like if I watched this for the first time and Jurassic Park didn't exist, I'd like that they had the crowds in that probably more than what Jurassic Park was. Not to discredit it, but I think that's why I kind of made that decision in the end.
No, that's fair enough, man. And you know what? I was very close to putting it the same as you, but I had to think hard about why I liked this movie so much. And for me, it just Jurassic Park meant so much to me as a child growing up, and the throwbacks to Jurassic Park that this had made this movie fantastic. And as I said, it just couldn't have happened without Jurassic Park being at number one for me. So, I guess it's different folks, different strokes. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that is our ranked and reviewed episode for Jurassic World 2015, which, you know what? I'm really proud of myself. Last week, when I said I hadn't seen Jurassic World since it came out, which was 2015, that was purely a guess, and I got it on the nose, man. Direct on the nose. So, with that, we've got some things to quickly just talk about, which is that next week we have our review for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom coming out, which was 2018. We are going to have a 2-week break, which I didn't think that would turn out like this when I did the math in my head for adding this up, before we get to Jurassic World Dominion, which gives us 2 weeks of no episodes of Ranked and Reviewed that we have planned. We thought we were going to kind of line up better with the release of this movie. So what I thought we'd do, how do you feel about maybe after our Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom review next week, we do Uncharted?
Yeah. I would accept a reason to see that movie.
So I think we do Uncharted. Not next week, but the week after. And then I thought maybe we'll either do something related to, we could maybe do a thoughts, theories, and predictions episode for our Jurassic World Dominion episode coming up. You know what I mean? Maybe that following week. I don't know what would you think about doing something like that? What we think's going to happen, what characters might eat the dust. It could even just be a short episode, man. What would you think about doing something like that?
I am down for that. We could put a bit of sizzle on it.
Definitely. I think we could check out some of the footage they've released. I'm sure by then we'll have another trailer or something, that we can kind of dissect and have a look at. But yeah, I think maybe that's what we'll do. So next week, you'll get your ranked and reviewed episode for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. We will then go into Uncharted. And then the week after that, leading into our review for Jurassic World Dominion, we will do a thoughts and predictions episode for Jurassic World Dominion. Then we will drop Jurassic World Dominion review on the day of release. So how does that sound, Alan?
That sounds delicious.
It does indeed. So, now just remember, everyone, he was the one that put it at number one, not me, okay? Okay, go at him. I fucked up with Indiana Jones. I admit it. Yeah. Which seems to be one of our best tracking reviews, which is insane. So, anyways, thank you all for joining us on this episode of Ranked and Reviewed. I hope it was a fun one. I hope everyone got kind of something that they wanted out of it, and we talked about all the aspects that you wanted us to talk about. As usual, I'm your host, TOMYE West, and joining me has always been, and will always be, and continues to be, ALANNIS Maximus. And we will see you next week for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Peace. Raptors. Alan. Peace.